This is Bill Stewart, and in this video I'm going to show how to install the XWiki application on Windows. It's a Java-based application. In this environment I'm using Postgresql with single sign-on. So naturally these instructions are going to be focused on that. So if you have a different database, you'll have to change some of these to suit your database. So the first thing we need to do is download the correct packages. And the first one is going to be the Java Runtime Environment, or JRE, from adoptopenjdk.net. We'll go to the archive page so we can find the correct JRE download for 64-bit Windows. So that's that link there. And I actually have that file downloaded right here. Okay. So next, we need to download the Postgresql Jdbc driver. So again, if you have a different database, you would use a different Jdbc driver. Go to Downloads and download the Jdbc driver, most recent, which I have downloaded here. Next is my custom Tomcat installer that I got permission from Apache from my GitHub page. github.com/bill-stewart/Apache Tomcat setup. I'm going to go to that page. Close these other tabs. In the documentation, there is a link to the download on the releases. And here, Apache Tomcat 9. We need Apache Tomcat 9 here, which I have downloaded here. Okay. Next one is go to my personal website, westmesatech.com, and there's some downloads we need from that page as well. Go to XWiki. The first one is the Notepad 2 installer, which I have downloaded here. That text editor will allow us to work with the XWiki configuration files, which use Unix line terminators. We also need the XWiki setup database Postgres and XWiki Waffle Tomcat 9 lib downloads, which I have downloaded here. Okay, so those are the prerequisites. The next thing we want to do is complete the package installs. So first we're going to install the JRE. We have to complete this step before installing Tomcat because Tomcat requires the Java installation. So I'm going to agree to the license there. And I'm going to install only the base feature, the JRE, and I don't need to add to path or do any of the other tasks. I am going to change the install directory to a shorter name just to simplify the path. JRE 11, like that. Okay, and we'll click install and confirm the administrator, yes. And so after the JRE completes, then we will install Tomcat. Okay, so we'll run the Tomcat installer with a double click and confirm administrator, yes. And we also, when we get to the end, configure it to run as the database owner account. So we'll accept the license agreement, information about the installer, the default directory is fine. I'm going to just do a core only install to not install any of the standard Tomcat web applications. Go to next. The standard program group is fine. I'll leave the defaults here, set file system permissions, and automatically start service at reboot. You'll notice that the installer found the jvm.dll file, the Java virtual machine, which is required by Tomcat. Next, now on this page, we're going to configure the service to run as the database owner account. And I'm going to specify 1 gig of memory, which really isn't enough to run XWiki correctly in a production environment but for a demo use, it's just fine. So we've specified the database owner account and the memory. you look through here for the installation details and run the install. Okay, and the last step here, we're actually going to run the manager application, leave the checkbox selected on this last page of the installation here so that we can specify the password for the account that's going to run the service, which is the database owner. So I'm going to specify the password and click OK. We're not ready to start the service yet because we haven't configured the application. Okay, so we need to finally we need to install Notepad 2. I'm going to run that installer. Install for all users. Confirm administrator access and accept license. In Notepad 2, I do want to create a desktop shortcut. I'll be using that and run the install. Okay, so we've installed the JRE Tomcat Notepad 2. Now, the next step that we want to actually complete is to create the XWiki database in the Postgresql server. And that's the purpose of the download from westmesatech.com, is those scripts are in that zip file. So what I actually want to do here is I want to extract the content of those setup scripts. Do a right click and extract, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in the downloads folder, which is fine. We don't need to show extracted files when completed. Let's do a refresh here. And here are the files with the .sql extension. I'm actually going to copy this this path so I can put those files for that database owner user. I'm going to run a command line as administrator. I'm going to use Windows PowerShell. I'm going to set location, open quote, and go to hit Control V, paste in that path, close quote, and GCI lists the files. Now let's see if we can find that yep, that's the correct path. So what we want to do is copy use my tab completion. Okay, copy those files, hit up arrow a couple of times, and now you can see that the DB owner account has those SQL scripts available in that profile. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch user to the database owner account. Log on as that user. I'm going to open the pgadmin tool. So of course right now I'm logged on as the database owner account, which has permission. It's basically the administrative user for the PostgreSQL database that's installed on this machine. I'm going to expand my servers. Now, because I'm using single sign-on, it will just use the current user, which you should see if I click OK. You can see it did allow me to log on. I'm going to expand the databases node. And you'll see that I have the one Postgres database available at this time. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go to Tools and then use the Query tool, because we need to run a couple of queries that were stored in those SQL text files in order to create the database for XWiki and to grant the permissions on it. So I'm going to use my Open button here to select that file. I'm I copied those to the documents folder, so I'm going to go into that folder and find the database, the create database script, and select that. And I need to actually highlight this and type the correct It is case sensitive, so I need to put the correct name in there. And press F5 or click the execute button to tell Postgresql to go ahead and create that that database. I'm going to open the other file, and I can let's go ahead and save it, and then I can open the other script, the grant schema. Okay, so select, and again I need to replace this with the correct username. And again, it is case sensitive, so I'm going to press F5 or execute. Okay, I'm going to save that script as well. Close. Okay, and if I do a refresh here, you will see the XWiki database listed right in the databases, and there it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the pgadmin tool and log off as this user and log back in as my admin. Okay, so now we have run the SQL scripts, so we are ready to extract the archive data. So the first one, so now we are ready to extract the archive files. So we're going to go to Program Files and Apache Tomcat Web Apps, and we're going to make a web application folder for XWiki. I'm going to continue. I'm also going to grant my current logon user permission to write into this directory because it will simplify editing the configuration files. So I'm going to right-click Properties, Security, Edit, and add my current logon account, which is just admin. Okay, and give modify permission. Okay, and OK. Let me copy this path here. We actually want to also create a permanent directory for XWiki. This is a directory that the database owner account has permissions to write to that XWiki uses for its file storage. So I'm actually going to go to Program Data, and I'm going to create a folder for XWiki here. And I need to give the database owner account permission to write to that folder. So I'm going to go to Security and Edit and Add. And okay. And give modify and OK and OK. So now we want to actually extract the XWiki war file into the XWiki directory. So I'm going to go back to Program Files, Apache Tomcat, Web Apps, XWiki. We're currently empty. Again, I'm going to copy that path. I'm going to go back to my downloads. And one of the easiest ways to do this, since a .war file is just a .zip file, I'm going to hit F2 and just rename to zip. And ignore that warning. And I actually want to extract. And I want to extract to that path. Okay, so now we've extracted that, and if we look into that folder, Program Files, Apache Tomcat, Web Apps, XWiki, you will see the extracted files. We also need to place, as it notes here, we need to copy the Jdbc driver and the files from that XWiki waffle tomcat9 lib.zip file, we need to put those into the tomcat lib directory. So I'm going to show that. First is go to the downloads. It doesn't matter what order you do this. So I'm going to do find the PostgreSQL driver and copy that. I'm going to go to program files Apache Tomcat lib and paste it in there right here. Continue. Okay, so it's copied there. And the other one is we need to extract that the content of the waffle libraries into that folder as well. So I'm going to get the path of that folder, highlight that and copy, and I'm going to extract that into that directory. So I'm going to give that a right click and extract, and I'm going to delete that and paste that in there. I don't need to show extract files. Extract, and do this for all. Continue. You'll need administrator permission. Do this for all current. Continue, and it will extract the jar files, okay, into the lib folder. Okay, so now we have created the correct directories and extracted the correct archives to the correct locations. The last step is to configure the files for the XWiki application. And the first file is the hibernate.cfg.xml file. So you will find that file in C, Program Files, Apache Tomcat, Web Apps, XWiki, web.inf. So the hibernate.cfg.xml file specifies, close this folder here, specifies the database to use for XWiki. So I'm going to give this a right click and drag into the folder here and copy so that we have a backup copy. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag and drop that file over to Notepad 2 so I can open it. I'm going to find default database, and I'm actually going to comment out the default database settings. So I'm going to highlight that line and Control X and Control V. So now the default database is commented out. I'm going to find PostgreSQL, and I need to uncomment PostgreSQL. So I need to find the close comment marker, which is right here, and Control X and Control V. Okay. Now, since I'm using single sign-on with the waffle libraries, I need to go to the end of the URL and put in $GSS lib equals auto. Okay, and it's localhost because it actually is running on the local machine. And I also need to comment out using XML commenting the username and password. Since we're using single sign-on, we do not use the username and password in this configuration. So we'll comment those out. We'll save the XML file and close it. The last step is let's make a backup copy of the xwiki.properties file. Do a right click and drag and copy so we have a backup of that. And we're going to do the same thing. Drag that to Notepad 2. And we're going to find permanent directory. Okay. Hit escape there. Let's delete the comment marker here and change this path using forward slashes. Okay. See program data XWiki, and it's not commented. And we'll save and close. Okay. So at this stage, we're now actually ready to start the Tomcat server. So you can do that using the Windows Services applet. And you can also go to the Apache Tomcat program group and configure the service. You'll have to confirm administrator access and start the service that way. You can also use start-service in Windows PowerShell if you're running as administrator, netstart, Tomcat, or whatever the service name is, etc. Right? It's just standard Windows service. So the service is now started. And so what we want to look at now is I'm going to open a PowerShell window and go to the Apache Tomcat logs folder so we can see the status. So we're going to go, let's find the logs directory here. This is where Tomcat creates its logs. We'll copy that path. Oops. Set location, and we'll paste that in there. Okay. Catalina is the log file name for Tomcat, and we use -wait so we can check the status of the startup of the service. And you'll see here that the Tomcat server is actually now deploying the web application XWiki. And this screen will move once Tomcat finishes actually deploying that web application and makes it available for use. So this virtual machine environment isn't very fast, so I'm going to pause until the application's ready. Okay, so you can see that the web application finished deploying slowly on this virtual machine. And hit Control-C to cancel the scrolling of the log file error. So now that the application is finished deploying, you can actually go to, can close this. Localhost port 8080, XWiki, right? So that's how Tomcat is installs as default on port 8080, and hit return. And shortly you'll begin to see the XWiki initialization messages that starting the application in the browser. Okay, you can see the application finished initializing, and we get the, as expected, distribution wizard for the XWiki application, where we can continue to set up XWiki. So the installation is complete and running on Windows. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful to you.